yeah. Nobody feeling the way I'm feeling tonight, yeah. And I have the hope that things will be alright, yeah. So we're feeling irate as we hustle all day long. We are hoping, say that one day things go better. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. When the things go harder, stronger than Umaga. Brother, know the quiver, we go smack 'em like Undertaker. When the things go harder, we go stronger than Umaga. Yeah, oh, we go smack 'em Undertaker. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. All day long, we are hoping, say that one day things go better. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. When the things go harder, stronger than Umaga, brother, know the quiver, we go smack 'em like Undertaker. When the things go harder, we go stronger than Umaga, yeah, oh, we go smack 'em Undertaker. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. 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 I dey believe in my hustle, but every day I pray to Papa. Oh. Say if I deliver me with the paper, I want to build house for Mama. Oh. I dey believe in my hustle, pray to Papa. Oh. Say I go get money to build house for Mama. Oh. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again.
Ecstatic made it.
Nobody feeling the way I'm feeling tonight, yeah. And I have the hope that things will be alright, yeah. So we're feeling irate as we hustle all day long. We are hoping, say that one day things go better. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again.
Hello.
When the things go harder, stronger than Umaga. When the things go harder, we go stronger than Umaga. Yeah, oh, we go smack 'em Undertaker. Jale, oh, jale, here we
Hello, Frank account. Hello.
Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. Jale, oh, jale, here we go again. I dey believe in my hustle, but
Yeah, so welcome right back here on to the newspaper review segment. Like I said, we're looking at the first. We're going to. I'm going to welcome my guest once again, MC Frank, who is a youth activist and activist broadly. He does a lot of stuff, but also, like I said before, he's also a very, very dope gentleman. He's my senior man at the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana. He's going to help us discuss some of these issues. So, senior man, welcome to the discussion.
All right, thank you, sir.
I want us to look at the Bawumia, Dr. Bawumia stories that's captured on a lot of the front pages. I think the essence is that he's focused on his job, and I know the NDC, and that Ghanaians should not be deceived by the NDC ahead of the 2024 elections. First of all, Dr. Bawumia, we all know has interest to lead the NPP into the next election. What do you make of maybe his track record in a way, and his attempt to lead the NPP before even get to what his message is for Ghanaians? Yeah.
All right, so before I begin, I would like to formally say a good morning to our listeners, and now that we are on air, to say our viewers as well. This is an interesting issue, if you'd ask me. And I say it's interesting because, as we are all aware, about 6 years ago, I think when the
6 years. Wow.
when the NPP was in opposition, sorry, would recall how they campaigned, indicating the shortfalls of the then party in power, the NDC, and you and I would attest to the fact that they were able to convince Ghanaians that they have so much to offer to the ordinary Ghanaian, and any normal person would also want to be reassured of a better future, and Ghanaians gave them the nod to actually lead the country. They've been in power for like 6 years, and today we are getting ready for another election in about 2 years' time.
That's just
you go on a platform, a very big platform, where you have that platform to tell Ghanaians what you've done so far, what you have ahead of us, and what we should be looking forward to. And rather, we hear our vice president telling us not to listen to the opposition party. I find that very ridiculous, because already you are in power. You have what it takes to manage the affairs of the country. And as the vice president, I would say that looking at the age of our president, you are actually playing an active role in the day-to-day administration. So you are a key member, and you know what is going on and all of that. So if you tell Ghanaians to focus, not to focus on the NDC, it's like you're drifting away from what you've been given. It's like you are not aware of the fact that you are in position. You understand? Exactly.
But he says they have a very solid track record of achievements. And, because if you look at the NPP, they've been in power for 6 years. We all understand that. But he says that, yes, we don't mind the NDC, but we, as the government, we have a solid track record of achievement. Do you agree? Like, can't we see what NPP government has done about the 6 years? Can't you see?
Exactly, my brother. So, just like you said, he's making a claim that they have a good track record. I as a Ghanaian wouldn't dispute that, and this NPP has done well. But what I always say is that should you come out to sell what you've done, Ghanaians are not blind. If you've really done something, you don't need to come hating on that. Obviously, there are people living in the countries, and these things that you claim have done should affect the lives of the people positively. So let's say you tell me that you've built a market for me, and I'm a market woman. I don't need you to come on stage to tell me. Obviously, when I get to the market, I would realize that there is an infrastructural development, and so I don't think you should come, because there's no time. We are far behind time. We know Ghana had independence with a number of countries, and they are far behind us. But all we do is to go hating at our opponents, hating at people who have no role in their lives. You have the mandate now, so just push. Do what you're supposed to. I understand that they are planning to have their primaries, the NPP. So obviously, as one of the aspirants, he needs to actually
say something,
sweet words into. But I mean, there's a great work for us to be done, and I think we have to remain focused as a country. Thank you.
I think that's brilliant, but if you look at Dr. Bawumia, he's a politician, right? We know he's a vice president, and this was 6 years. I mean, for me, my position has been that if you're in a position of influence to change or to influence policy, don't come to us whilst you are still in power to tell us that you're going to make things better, or you're actually in the position to make the policy. Let's go ahead and make the policy. I wasn't stopping you, but let's do it in the APP primary. I think it's getting heated up. Canada, Japan is pulling out some good numbers, especially these days. Everywhere it seems to be he's the one being talked about. Look at the top, and we all know about the NPP's what they call model of election. They want to do an open, what they call the first batch of election before they pick the top 5 and then they go ahead. Looking at the top 3 contenders right now, we look at the vice president, look at former minister for trade Alan Cash, and then Linda Japan. Who do you think is sending a positive message or a better message out to Ghanaians or to the NPP folks?
If you talk about message now, message is subjective.
Okay.
It could be a message to convince the people about what they are capable of doing. It could be about the party's message, based on the party's ideologies, who have lived up to their ideologies and all of that. If you'd ask me, I would say that obviously because Vice President Bawumia is still in power. He's doing so much. He's doing so much in terms of communication, and some way somehow I think he has garnered the support of a lot of party folks. And I think beyond him coming up to speak for himself, we've heard countless times on radio, TV, people pushing him for reasons we can't tell because we are not party members. But I if you would ask me on the face I think Bawumia is very loud, not just by his own efforts, but people, the support that he has. Alan Cash is equally doing well because he was the targeted person prior to this session until the issue about Bawumia came up. And our Honorable Kennedy is also someone you cannot just look down on.
Can you zone in on Kennedy, Honorable Kennedy Japan, because just last week we had these issues about here, and one of the, I think the chief whip of the majority in parliament, he says that he's not presidential, like, or what was the term he used for him? It was like his character doesn't feel like a president, something like that. Do you feel like, in the wildest of imagination, do you feel like he can lead the NPP even in the first place before even contesting to become president of Ghana?
All right, thank you. So, if you'd ask me, I would say yeah. I believe he can. Obviously, the question is coming up because of character traits, like you're saying. It's being too loud. Sometimes people see him as, sorry to use that word, uncouth. How his utterances in the past and all of that. Yes, as a president, or as a potential president that he wants to be, much is expected from you in terms of your demeanor, your speech, because you are leading the country, and if you are leading the country, it's important that you are circumspect about your words and all of that. Yes. So in terms of speech and outlook, like you said, a lot of people would have issues with him because of past commentaries, but I look at substance over form. Substance over form, in the sense that we've had people who speak so well, people who dress so well, people who could say all kinds of words just to lure you, but they come into power and you see nothing. For nothing, we've seen
a number of presidents. Okay,
exactly in the past.
Yes.
For nothing, we've seen and heard Kennedy Japan as an MP made a number of declarations, which are some informal, some formal on social media, and he has been a man of his words. If there's something that I love about the man, is about the fact that he's a man of his words. And I will tell you one thing, I believe that Ghana is facing so many problems, and like I've always said, Ghana as a country needs someone who is authoritative, actionable. You understand? Because the ordinary black man is an extremist, and we like to abuse power. I tell people democracy is a good thing. No one will dispute that. But democracy doesn't entirely work for Africa because of how we were nurtured, the kind of grooming we got.
Even our traditional systems,
So when you give people the privilege, the freedom, people just abuse it. And when there's so much abuse in the system, you need people who are very strict, people who would work with the law, people who yes will be yes, and no will be no. Internally in the MPP, you'd realize that there are instances where, as a party, they've done things wrongly, and Kennedy Japan is one of those who would come out regardless of the fact that he's a part of the party. He would tell you that no, this is wrong, regardless, because you should have the interest of the people at heart, not necessarily your interest, because it's about tomorrow. Leadership is about tomorrow.
But does that give him an edge? Because frankly speaking, I know we just don't know for the about, but it's an interesting discussion because it's a big debate in the NPP itself. That this man is a businessman, well successful. He's a man of his words. That's how people characterize. Yes, as you're also making a point for him that he's a man of his word, because we know that, and when things are even bad in his party, he comes out to say it. Does that give him an edge just over his competitor? Even though we know that in the scheme of Africa, he may not be the top number one, but does that give him an advantage?
Yes, it gives him an advantage, because now the ordinary Ghanaian is open-minded. We are not moved by words, by people who come with sweet words and all of that, because people want to see real change in their lives. That's how come I'm even saying that Bawumia wasn't supposed to be it shouldn't be focusing on the NDC, because Ghanaians know what you've done, and on the day they would vote. Because I have people who who were close-minded because they were this tribe, and they think that. But for now, they tell you no. I would look into my pocket, see my state. I would look at infrastructure before voting. So I think that would also give him an edge. I want to drift a bit. One thing that we shouldn't lose focus on is the fact that, you know, if it should get a nod to lead the country, we shouldn't forget that obviously there are systems. We have a constitution that guides us. So regardless of how extreme or radical he is, there will be control, because there are bills you would want to pass and you would have to come to parliament. Parliament would have to approve. I don't want to believe that those at parliament are daft. Obviously they would peruse and then ensure that whatever policy, obviously the executive has so much power, but again there are systems, separation of powers, and still we have controls.
Charlie, I actually like the way you're actually optimistic of, or have a very positive review of our systems. But it's true, we have the system, and the government structure is in place, but most of the time our executive just bamboozles or just crashes everybody apart, and that's what they do, what they want to do. Yes, so you're talking about someone who can follow the law and someone who is straight. This brings me to the issue of the OSP and then Professor Frimpong Boateng, because Professor Frimpong Boateng gave an interview which revealed that he was arrested, he was granted bail, and then it just came at a time where he has been celebrated by Ghanaians as a hero for the people, especially after the leakage of his report on the Galamsey or the works of the ICM, the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining. Now, we've also heard the OSP, who comes out and states categorically that no, for he doesn't concern anybody, he's saying he follows the law and he's doing his work according to the law, and that he's charged to protect the country. He says he's the conscience of the nation in the sense of protecting or prosecuting corrupt acts and corrupt people. Do you feel, what's your own review of this issue between Professor Frimpong and then the OSP? Where do you stand? Like, where do you stand actually?
Sure. I think this is a very sensitive one. Like you would agree. The OSP is someone we know very well, and so we would have to accord him the necessary respect. But one thing that I always say is we need to be frank, because if our leaders are repeating the same things, we as youth activists and people who have the country at heart, we should be able to be honest. So regardless of loyalty or the fact that there's some kind of acquaintance, we have to be frank with words. About Professor Kwabena Frimpong, Frimpong Boateng. So if I would want to begin by saying that from about, I think the report came out about 2 years ago, and from discussions on the claims that he has made, you could realize that the executive body is not just ready to look into the matter. Now, why am I saying this? This report was ready about 2 years ago, and Professor mentioned that he had submitted the document to the government. But I think about 2 months ago, the spokesperson of the president, I think, came out to mention that they've not received any of such report, and it's more of
it was actually described as a body of what do you call it, personal grievances against his colleagues.
Exactly.
That was the most shameful thing, reaction I could, for me. But I don't know the substance or the reasoning for the presidency.
Exactly. So the two of us would agree that there are due processes when you are assigned. He was the chairman of an interministerial committee to look into illegal mining, and so I believe that once they are done, they present their reports. Even if procedure hasn't been followed, I believe that government has the issues of illegal mining at heart, and that is why this committee was formed. So I expect that if the committee had not done the right thing, at least government will move forward to get the report, regardless, because systems have to be followed. But when systems are not followed, but that is why I always say substance over form. Yes, the format has not been followed, but then what's the substance? We need a report. So what you're supposed to do is to get the report and then act on it. Exactly. But when you treat it as mere rumor, and already Ghanaians have this perception that because in the report there were claims that there are party members who have been involved in this illegal mining, and because of that government is not ready to look into the issue, then you give Ghanaians more reason to believe the claims of
the Professor
Frimpong. Now the professor was once invited to UTV, and I recall him saying that he didn't even leak the document, but when he went to UTV, I think he made some claims, and then the CID followed up because of those claims that he made, and that's how come he gave them the document. So he's suspecting that the document was leaked. We cannot speak to a fact that we are speaking based on what we've heard. You understand? So it should tell you that he had no interest bringing it out there. That is from his claims. Now, this has become a banter between the professor and then the government. Now, the OSP, who is expected to be a neutral person to bring peace and then to bring progress in terms of legal
fights against corruption,
legal prudence and all of that, has invited the professor. And now I listened to the spokesperson of the OSP, and I was surprised that the man was arrested. The word was arrested. The special prosecutor himself came out to say that it wasn't an arrest, it was an invitation. And like Professor Frimpong has always mentioned, he's ready to avail himself for interrogation because he has made those claims as the chairman, and so he's ready to give reasons and then proof to all that. But if you arrest him instead of inviting him for you to query him, then there's a question. Now, fair enough, the OSP comes out to say that it was an invite, but just a few days ago we hear that he has been granted a bail. So who is invited and then granted a bail? I mean, we are law students. It is only when you are arrested that is when you can be granted bail. Okay. But if you invite me, it's just a formal invitation for me to answer questions. I don't have to be bailed after I've been invited. So it begs the question. You understand? So it tells you that it was an arrest. And the funny thing was that the arrest that was made was not in relation to the report. But I'm told that, and I've read from various news outlets that it was in respect of some expenditure incurred by the committee. I mean, when there's a major issue to be addressed, there are serious corrupt allegations in the report.
The OSP has said that for him, what he knows as the OSP, the allegations that are against the committee and the person of the chairman, Professor Frimpong, are huge allegations that border on serious corruption. Don't you think that the OSP has any right or mandate to prosecute him, even though he's the one who's our champion? I don't know, because it looks like that's just what I'm saying. What don't you think that he has the money to prosecute him, or you feel like he should have left that one and then focus on the report itself?
Thank you. So, like you rightly said, yes, he has the mandate. That's why he's the special prosecutor. He's supposed to be prosecuting. But like you said too, in our traditional language and then even in English, you have to priorities. It's about priorities. And Professor, like we know, is a noble man who is not running from the country. Obviously, all of us who attest to the fact that the emergent issue is the fact that our water bodies are being destroyed and people's livelihood are being affected by that. You understand? There are so many allegations. I wouldn't say that you shouldn't investigate. There are so many allegations which have been left untouched. But this one has to do with the lives of people. So you should be able to prioritize which one should come first, because these are allegations, and you know, when they are up like that, it is important for you to treat them head on. You understand? Head on, because that's when you would be able to
catch a fish bar.
You understand? Because people would start, because when things like this happen, people start covering up behind, especially when it has to do with the government in power. We should be frank with ourselves. So yes, you can look into that. But I also believe that the OSP doesn't work alone. He has a number of lawyers, if you look at the structure. So you can even look into the issues, because I don't believe that it is just the report on the illegal mining that is with them. They are also looking at other. So you can do the two concurrently. You understand? So you can look into you can have one of your committees or one of your persons looking into the expenditure issue, and then another looking into. But when you relegate the report and then you focus on the expenditure, I mean, what are we talking about?
I know this OSP thing. We'll get to see what the outcome is. But like you are saying, a lot of Ghanaians have utmost respect for the professor, and if he hasn't done something wrong, people will feel like, why don't you go after the report first But the OSP also says that he's continuing the report. He has the report as part of his investigation. I don't know how much of it that he's going to dwell on, but for me, I feel like, Charlie, you mentioned the law. Whoever sidestep the law should account for that. But let's see. Let's. We are almost done with our discussion. But let's go into another one far issue. The GPL. Yesterday I saw your status. You are talking about Hearts of Oak. Hearts of Oak had a real relegation scare. And Midiama had, I think Midiama won the league yesterday, their first time in the history of the club. The GPL, not a lot of audience, not a lot of viewers, but always we know that it's our own. For you, what do you make of the hard scare? What do you make of Midiama winning the GPL? And what do you see about the GPL in itself as a tournament or as a competition?
Okay, so GPL,
Ghana Premier League.
Ghana Premier League.
This is our own.
Coincidentally, I've been a fan of our GPL personally, because my dad was a footballer too, and he played for Accra to Folk, in fact, for about 8 years. So he was a legend for the club. So obviously, when you are growing up, that delights. So I've been glued to the GPL. I would say that so far so good, but then we would attest to the fact that there are still issues. There are still a lot of issues with our Premier League. Before I even talk about a few of the issues, I just want to congratulate Midiama. I think they actually qualified for the GPL somewhere around 2010, I should believe. And when they came, they've actually
made a
won
case for themselves.
Yes, they've won about 2 trophies. I think some FA Cup. I can't recall the years. I think 2013, 2015, they won some trophies. They've also represented Ghana in the CAF Confederations.
Okay.
Exactly. So they've done so well in the span of 13 years to win a trophy. It's not easy here. So I want to congratulate them. About Accra to Folk.
for just a recount, it shows that the dear fans of House of Oak, did they actually have a scare that they can be relegated? Is it even possible for House of Oak to be relegated? I know the league is over, but just trying to recount the memories or the anxieties, if any.
Yeah, I think there's one more. I think they have one more matches. One
more match to play.
Sorry, to play. So it's still not over.
It's not over.
But it's highly impossible for them to be relegated at this point in time. But you can't just rub it off. It's about mathematics, because if you look at the points that Accra Folk has, they have 45, and then I think King Faisal and Tamale City have, is it 41 or is it 40 each? It just exactly.
There's a small margin between they and the last 3 teams.
But the GPL is funny, because if you even look at the point difference between the last team, the 18th team, and then the first, is less than 40 points.
Seriously.
And from, look at Kotoko. Kotoko is currently 4th, and then has 11th. But the point difference is about 6.
2 matches.
Just 2 matches.
From 4th to 11th.
I just remember that about a month ago, people were rooting for Hearts to win the league.
Seriously, like in this league,
suddenly you're fighting.
But what is the issue? Because when you look at the league, like people I know there are a lot of concerns with the league. I know I will come about it as well. One thing that for me, I feel that we don't have good players. Can I even conclude? Because how can 18 teams be playing a league, and then between the 4th and the 11th is 2 matches, 6 points? It means that it's either you're playing draws, everybody's playing draws, everybody's at the same level playing draws, no difference in quality. It's just whoever manages to win 2 matches in line consecutive, then the person is a better team than the other one who draws the last 2 matches. What's causing this issue that our league, there's no kind of quality there?
Okay, so I think it's all about consistency. Fortunately, I've been a player before. I was a player. I played even up to Division 2.
Wow.
So I have
Senior
a
most
friend.
proud.
So I can tell it's about consistency, because if you compare our local league to the foreign ones, let's say the EPL, you could realize that teams are able to win the league with 80 points and all of that. There are teams you can root for when you are Man City is playing. You can tell that this year, if not for anything, they would have accumulated this number of points. The potential of winning is high. Some years back, it used to be like that with our GPL, but unfortunately for now, it's bad. And I personally think it has to do with management. Leadership and management. That has been the problem of our league, just like the country itself.
Well,
So
I don't know.
exactly. And the quality of teams that we have, motivation. The players lack motivation. That was one of the reasons I stopped playing soccer and decided to wait for an opportunity. When I move out there, then I play. So people are playing, but their quality of life, like their life itself, are not being touched. So they go to the field and
then the motivation is just
you understand. So today Kotoko plays, Kotoko loses. Tomorrow Kotoko plays. There's no motivation to be consistent. You understand. Some of the issues are internal. You understand. There's so much politics
so much in the system.
In fact, the whole league has to we need an overhauling. You understand? Measures, real measures need to be put in place about payment of players, which I think there was a committee set on that to look into issues. But even the kind of pitches we have, the publicity, the sponsorship, these are things that we need to look into.
Because one thing I know is that Ghanaians actually love the Ghana Football League. Just that they are not getting the value that they get. They can easily access somewhere else.
Sure.
Because for me, I'm RTU fan. I don't think RTU will ever have a match or win a match, and then I'll feel like, oh, it doesn't bother me. Yesterday, I was watching the table. I knew Medina would beat Tamale City, but I don't want Tamale City to go for relegation. And I'm like, I'm praying at least just draw. Drawing Olympics will lose, because I know that these are my hometown teams, right? RTU and Tamale City. Everybody who loves their teams, but just that thing, that value that we are not getting from it. That's why I think we are not showing it very much. But maybe hopefully our leadership will get better. I don't know why.
We are hopeful we pray that.
Let's bring our discussion to an end here. Thank you so much. I've been here with Senior Frank. For me personally, I just want to extend my condolences to you and pray that God grants you strength. I know that hopefully we will discuss more about these issues to bring it to light. Those issues that affect the ordinary Ghanaian that doesn't get the spotlight, and that's where pain and suffering is. Actually, the elites, I don't know. I think there's a very big disconnect between the elites and then the ordinary Ghanaian.
Exactly.
Charlie, I also want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and then maybe hopefully, I don't know, we can do this again another time.
Sure.
Discuss more and more about the what do you call it, the newspaper and whatever is happening in the country. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah. So we've been here. This has been the morning, the newspaper review with me, Lasaron. I've been here with MC Frank, an activist and a professional MC, and my senior man at the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana. He'll help us have a discussion. We'll take a short break here. We'll go for the morning news at 8 a.m. Then when we come out, we'll continue our show right here on GTR Live on Ghana Talk Studio. My name is Lasaron. So we'll be right back after the short break.
When the things go harder, stronger than Umaga. Brother, know the quiver, we go smack up like Undertaker. When the things go harder, we go stronger than Umaga. Yeah, oh, we go smack up Undertaker. Chale, oh, chale, here we go again.
Keep watching Ghana Talks Radio. Gang, gang, pow. So I'm in love with my bestie, and I don't know what to do. Edinia ABOCHI, and you're listening to Ghana Talks Radio. Stay tuned. Hallelujah.
I'm Miriam Holasi Tojago, Miss Ghana 2022, and this is Ghana Talks Radio. Keep listening.
Hi, my name is Dr. Jaden, and keep on listening to Ghana Talks Radio.
Hey, what up, people? This is Camilo, aka Mr. Grind on Stop, aka Top Boy, and this is Ghana Talks Radio. Peace and love. Keep it love. Love. It's your boy Malcolm Nuna, and you are watching Ghana Talks Radio. Do not touch the dial or your finger gonna get burned. Nuna,